Okay, so as an experienced front-end developer, whenever it comes to the point where we want to build our own portfolio site, we always go with WordPress. And the reason is quite obvious because if we choose our favorite front-end framework like Next.js, the only problem is that every time when we want to update our content, we have to go and make the code changes and redeploy our site. And this is, I would say, too much friction for just updating your content, and this results to a site which gets out of update and gets amended soon. But believe me, I have covered you with a best solution right over here, in which you can use your favorite front-end framework to build your own portfolio site. And the solution is quite obvious. It's dotCMS right over here. So you will be managing your content on dotCMS, which will be served via REST API and GraphQL APIs to your favorite front-end framework. It can be Next.js, it can be Angular, it can be Vue.js, or whatever you like, right? So as a developer, you will be maintaining your front-end side, and as a content author or as a developer yourself, you can go and maintain your content in dotCMS. So in this video, we'll be building this site right over here, which I have built using, I would say, React.js and Google AI Studio app. So it has been vibe coded, and we will be using this site to convert it into a dotCMS site rendered headlessly. But before the setup, let's roll the intro. So let's go and create our site setup with .cms in our local machine. And right over here, you can see I'm inside my projects directory. So let's create a new folder. So it's mkdir. I will name it as like site-.cms. And this is where I will be keeping all the stuff related to our project, right? So let's enter this thing and let's go into our folder, which is site-.cms. And over here, you can just open this folder in VS Code or your own cursor or whatever you like. I will be using lazy vim. So I will open the folder with lazy vim right over here. The folder is empty. So the very first step for setting up your project with dotCMS is to run dotCMS instance locally in your machine. And we will be doing that with the help of Docker. So let's create a new directory. I will call this directory as Docker, and inside our Docker directory, we'll be having our docker-compose.yml, and this is where we will be keeping our Docker Compose, which will go and spin up .cms instance locally in our machine. So let's go to Chrome because we won't be writing that Docker Compose. Let's open a new tab and search for .cms releases right over here, and this will take you to the current releases of .cms, and over here you can find all the versions and their respective Docker Compose files. So I will go with the latest version right over here, and I will be using our clean Docker Compose file, which will spin up a clean instance of .cms from scratch, because we really want to build our site from scratch up. Okay, so let's click on clean, and this will download our Docker Compose file. So let's open this one, and let's right click and open this with our text edit, and let's copy all the stuff, and let's go back to our IDE and paste it over here. And that's how our .cms Docker Compose looks like. So we are having our database service, which will be our Postgres instance. Then we are having our OpenSearch, which is, I would say, stuff for indexing your content in .cms. And then we are having our original .cms instance right over here. So there's nothing to change. All you have to do is to just spin this up with the command of docker compose -up. And before spinning up, if you just open my Docker dashboard right over here, you can see if you just say look over here and toggle this only show running containers, you can see that for now we are not having any running containers, right? But please make sure that the running containers does not occupy these ports which are being mentioned by this Docker Compose right over here. Okay, so now all we have to do is to just spin this Docker Compose up. And for spinning this up, all you have to do is to just open your terminal. I will be using my integrated terminal, which comes with lazy vim, and let's go into our Docker directory and let's type docker compose up and -d for detached mode. And once you enter this thing right over here, you can see it goes and creates all those network volumes and spin all those containers up. And the reason it took a lot less time is because all the images which were required were already downloaded in my system. So this took a lot more less time. But if you will not be having all those images, so it might take some time to get all those images and spin up your, I would say, dotCMS instance. And now if you just open your Chrome right over here, and if you open new tab and just go to local host, and then if you type 8082/admin, this will take you to your .cms environment right over here. And the default email is always admin@.cms.com, and the password is admin. And once you sign in right over here, you can see that you are inside your .cms instance right over here. So over here, we will be managing our content and will be rendering our content via all those REST APIs and GraphQL APIs in our front-end framework. So that's how you spin up your .cms instance locally in your machine. Okay, so once you have your .cms instance ready, the next step is to download your Next.js starter from .cms GitHub repo. So for that, just open a new tab, just type .cms GitHub, which will take you to the official, I would say, .cms page of GitHub. And over here, you have to just search for starter right over here. And this is the repository you have to look for, which is saying .cms headless starter Next.js. Now, obviously, you can build this starter by your own knowledge and by understanding the documentation of .cms, but for the sake of time saving, I have already built that. So just click on this right over here and just click on the code and just copy the URL and just go to your IDE. And this time, what I will be doing here, I will be creating a new folder with the name of front end right over here, and inside this, sorry, it's not a file, but it will be front end a directory, and inside this directory will be just, I would say, cloning the same starter kit right over here. So let's open our integrated terminal. Let's go to our front end folder right over here, and I will just type git clone and then paste the URL, and I will just place a dot over here because I want to clone the whole repository in the same directory. Now, once you enter this thing, it will go and clone all the starter kit into this folder right over here. And now if you just clear it and exit the terminal, and if you just open this front end folder, you can see right over here, you are having your front end starter kit cloned into the same directory. And if you just come into the package.json file right over here, you can see that we are having our next, I would say, JS dependency. We are having React, we are having React DOM, and we are also having a dependency of Tailwind classes right over here. So you will be having your Next.js app with Tailwind. Now for connecting this front end starter kit with your .cms, we are already having our .cms libraries which are available right over here, which is .cms client for connecting to .cms instance. Then we are having our .cms types and .cms React right over here, which are the pre-built React components built for rendering content coming from .cms. To be honest, you don't have to know about all these, but just if you really want to take deep dive into these libraries, you can just hop on to our documentation, which is at dev.cms.com. Okay, so once you have your starter kit downloaded, this is the point where you have to connect your front end with your back end, which is .cms. And for that, all you have to do is to just come inside your Utils directory, and over here you are having .cms client right over here. And for connecting your .cms client with your .cms, you have to provide the .cms URL, which is, I would say, the host at which the .cms instance is running. You have to provide the auth token, and you have to provide the site ID. And over here, you can see that these environment variables are being picked from .env. So let's come to our directory, which is our front end, and let's create a new file with .env right over here. And once you create this .env, let me just come over here and paste all those environment variables. Let me just copy all these and let's paste it right over here. And now for host, we know that this is running on http://local host, and we are running our .cms instance locally at port 8082. But in case of our site ID and auth token, we have to get this data from our .cms instance. So let's go to our Chrome. Let's go to our dotCMS instance right over here, which is already running. Now for getting the data, all you have to do is to just come inside your system, inside your users right over here, and inside your admin user, you have to go into API access tokens and create a new access token right over here. So let's request a new access token, and I will call this as Next.js because we are getting this token for our Next.js frontend. Let's say okay, and let me just copy this token right over here. Once you copy this, come back to your terminal and paste it right over here. And now once you have done that, let me just save this environment variables. And once that is done, we need our site ID. So for our site ID, all you have to do is to just go to your site and click on the site ID which says default. And once you click on this default, you can see above the URL has been changed. And this is what your site ID looks like, which is of type UUID. So let me just copy this from the URL and let's go back to terminal and let's paste it right over here. Now this is what the site ID looks like. And now our dotCMS mode is obviously production, but if you are in development mode, you can choose this development, but I will go with the production one, right? Now, once you are done with that, the next step is obviously let's clear the screen. Let's install all the dependencies by using npm. So I will type npm install in the same frontend directory right over here. And once the dependencies are installed, all you have to do is to just run the project by using the command npm run dev, which is, I would say, the default command for running your Next.js app. So right over here, you can see our dependencies has been installed. Now let me just clear the terminal and type npm run dev. Now this will go and fire up your Next.js app. And now if you just come to Chrome, open a new tab and type localhost port 3000. If you just enter this thing right over here, this will go and spin up your Next.js app right over here. And now it says that it doesn't find anything because right now we don't have any page which is being rendered in dotCMS. So the next step is to go and create a page and create a content type and see how things work and how this dotCMS and your frontend starter gets integrated. Okay, so now let's go to our dotCMS instance right over here. Let's close all the stuff and now let's go to our site manager, and inside our pages, you can see we are already having a test page right over here. And that is being published on our test page right over here, this URL. Now for testing this out, all you have to do is to just come to localhost 3000 and /test dash page, and if you just enter this thing, it still says 404. And the reason is quite obvious because if you just come to our pages right over here, you can see that the status is still in draft mode. We have not published this page. So for publishing this page, all you have to do is to just click over here and say publish. And once that is published, now if you come to your front end side and just refresh this thing right over here, you can see your test page being rendered with a blank header and a footer right over here. So that's how you can ensure that your dotCMS backend is connected with your front end. And that is how you set up a headless project with your favorite front-end framework with dotCMS. So that's all from this video. In the coming on video, we'll go and see how we could go and design our this portfolio site with dotCMS in a headless mode with our favorite front-end framework, which is Next.js, using the same project which we have set it up in this video. So that's all. See you on the other side, and thanks for watching.